Mafia boss said, "Let me hold your hand." She sat alone in the back row. Black dress borrowed from a thrift store. Mascara running. Not from grief. From relief, mixed with shame for feeling relieved. The casket at the front held Marcus Reeves. Dead 2 weeks. Abusive ex-boyfriend. Monster who'd made 3 years feel like 30. The funeral home smelled like lilies and lies. People crying for a man they didn't really know. Mourning the version of Marcus he showed the world. Not the one who'd put her in the emergency room twice. Not the one who'd isolated her from everyone who might have helped. Not the one who'd made her believe she deserved every bruise, every broken promise, every moment of terror. A shadow fell across her lap. She looked up. A man stood in the aisle. 6'3" in a custom suit that cost more than her car. Dark eyes that held something she couldn't name. Kindness maybe, or calculation. His voice came out deep. Gentle. Unexpected. "Let me hold your hand." Lily stared at him. Didn't recognize his face. Didn't understand why a stranger would approach her here, of all places. "Who are you?" Her voice cracked on the question. "Why would you?" She couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't articulate why this offer felt like both salvation and threat simultaneously. The man's expression didn't change. "I know, but nobody should sit alone. Especially not here. Especially not for him." The way he said that last word. Him. Like Marcus was something distasteful. Something that left a bad taste. This stranger knew her ex knew enough to understand that her tears weren't mourning. Were something else entirely. The funeral home was packed with Marcus's people. Family who'd never met her despite 3 years together. Friends who'd enabled his worst behavior. Business associates who'd looked the other way when she showed up to company events with fresh bruises badly hidden under makeup. Not one of them had acknowledged her presence. Not one had offered condolences or comfort. Like she was a ghost haunting a ceremony she didn't belong at. But this man saw her. Really saw her. "Before we go any further, I need to know something. Where are you watching this from right now? What city? Thing that'll restore your faith that good men still exist." This woman showed up to her abuser's funeral completely alone, and the most dangerous man in the city just offered her his hand. You need to see why he's helping her. You need to see what happens next. This story is about to change everything you think about protection and power and the complicated ways people save each other. Let's go. Alessandro Dante sat down beside her without waiting for permission. His hand remained extended, patient, unwavering, offering something she hadn't received in years. Voluntary touch. Touch that didn't come with conditions or threats or the promise of pain if she rejected it. Lily's brain screamed warnings. Strange man. Funeral. Alone. Vulnerable. Every instinct Marcus had beaten in her said, don't trust, don't accept, don't give anyone the opportunity to hurt you again. But something in Alessandro's expression made her reach out anyway. Made her fingers wrap around as like holding onto something solid in a storm that had lasted 3 years and finally broken. His grip was warm, strong, safe in ways that terrified her because Marcus had felt safe once too. In the beginning, before the mask slipped before the first time, he grabbed her throat before she learned that love in his vocabulary meant ownership. Until it hadn't. Until safe became the most dangerous thing she could feel. The service began. A priest who'd never met Marcus reading generic platitudes about a life well lived and a soul at peace and all the comforting lies people tell at funerals. Alessandro's hand held hers through the opening prayers. Through the eulogy delivered by Marcus's boss, who talked about dedication and work ethic and somehow managed to avoid mentioning that Marcus had been under investigation for embezzlement when he died. Through the hymn sung by people who looked bored and checked their phones between verses. His thumb traced small circles on her palm. Unconscious gesture. Comfort offered without thought. Lily found herself focusing on that touch instead of the coffin. On the warmth instead of the cold. On the stranger's kindness instead of the dead man's cruelty. People were staring. She felt their eyes. Felt their judgment. Felt their confusion about who this man was and why he was sitting with the ex-girlfriend everyone blamed for Marcus's misery. Marcus's brother Derek stood during a break between speakers, looked directly at Lily from his position in the front row. His voice carried across the funeral home with practiced projection. My brother died of a broken heart, abandoned by the woman he loved, left alone when he needed her most. The accusation landed like a slap. Lily shrank in her seat, wanted to disappear into the borrowed dress, into the cheap shoes, into the floor itself. Wanted to scream that Marcus hadn't died of a broken heart, but of the same reckless driving that had characterized everything he did. That she'd left because staying meant dying. That abandoning him had saved her life. But her voice wouldn't work. Couldn't work. 3 years of being told to shut up, to be quiet, to know her place had trained her throat to close when she needed it most. Alessandro stood, still holding her hand, pulled her up with him, gentle but firm, started walking her toward the exit, moving through the aisle with confidence that parted the crowd like water. Derek moved faster, blocked their path before they reached the door. His face was red, angry, grief mixed with rage, looking for a target. Where do you think you're going? You owe him the respect of staying. The funeral isn't over. You don't get to walk away from him again. His voice was rising, creating a scene. Exactly what Lily had feared. Exactly why she'd almost not come. Alessandro's response was quiet, deadlier for its calmness. She owes him nothing. Move. Derek laughed. Harsh sound. Bitter. Who the hell are you to tell me anything? This is my brother's funeral. My family's grief. You're nobody. Just some random guy she probably met last week already replacing Marcus like he never mattered. Someone in the crowd gasped. A woman Lily didn't recognize. Hand over her mouth. Eyes wide. That's Alessandro Dante. The name rippled through the funeral home like a shockwave. People who'd been watching with curiosity now watched with fear. Derek's face changed. Went from red to white in seconds. Took a step back. Then another. Alessandro didn't move. Didn't need to. His reputation did the work for him. Your brother stole from me 6 months ago. $2 million. Thought I wouldn't notice. Thought his connections would protect him. The room went completely silent. Even the priest stopped pretending to read his Bible. Alessandro continued speaking like he was discussing whether not theft, not threat, not the implication hanging heavy in the air. I was planning to handle it personally. Then his car went off that bridge. Saved me the trouble. The implication was clear. Derek heard it. Everyone heard it. Did you? Derek's voice came out strangled. Did you cause the accident? Were you? Alessandro's expression didn't change. The brakes failed. Mechanical failure according to the police report. Pure coincidence that it happened before I could collect what he owed me. Pure coincidence that it saved him from a much more painful death. He let that sink in. Let everyone in the funeral home understand exactly what Marcus had been involved in, what consequences he'd been facing, what fate he'd avoided by dying in a car crash instead of at Alessandro's hands. Then he moved. Derek scrambled out of the way. Alessandro guided Lily through the door out into cold afternoon air that tasted like freedom. A black car waited at the curb. Driver standing at attention. Expensive sedan with tinted windows. Alessandro opened the back door, gestured for her to get in. Lily hesitated, every instinct screaming that getting in this car was a mistake, that accepting help from a man who'd just implied he murdered people was trading one cage for another. But Derek was already coming through the funeral home doors, already shouting something she couldn't hear over the blood rushing in her ears, already looking like he wanted to finish what his brother had started. She got in the car. Alessandro slid in beside her. The driver moved immediately. Smooth. Professional. Like he'd done this 1,000 times. Probably had. The funeral home disappeared behind them. Lily realized she was still holding Alessandro's hand. Had been holding it since he first offered. Since that moment in the back row when she'd been drowning and he'd been a lifeline she shouldn't have grabbed but couldn't refuse. Why are you helping me? Her voice was barely a whisper. Alessandro looked at her. Really looked, like studying something complex and fragile. Because I've been watching Marcus for months. Saw how he treated you. Saw the fear in your eyes every time you were with him. So you try to leave 3 times. Saw him find you each time. Drag you back. Nobody helped you then. I'm helping you now. Lily's stomach dropped. You were watching. For months. You saw and you did nothing. Guilt flashed across Alessandro's face. Brief. Genuine. I was building a case. gathering evidence, planning to end him permanently. The car accident beat me to it. Thought that was the end. Thought you were finally free. Then I saw you at the funeral today, sitting alone, surrounded by people who hated you for surviving him. Couldn't walk away from that. The driver took them through parts of the city Lily barely recognized. Expensive neighborhoods, gated communities, places where people like her didn't exist except as service workers. How long were you watching? She needed to know, needed to understand the scope of this surveillance. 6 months. Since Marcus first stole from me. Since I started investigating his life, his business, his relationships, everything. Alessandro's honesty was disturbing. 7 months of watching her suffer. 7 months of knowing she was trapped. 7 months of planning Marcus's death while she lived in terror. You could have helped sooner. Could have. He agreed. Should have. But I had my own priorities. My own timeline. Didn't factor in how much longer you could survive him. That calculation was wrong. Cold. Lily pulled her hand away. Felt the absence immediately, but needed the distance. Needed to remember this man wasn't her savior. Was something else. Something dangerous. Did you kill him? She asked it directly. Needed the truth. The accident. Was it really an accident? Alessandro turned to face her fully. Does it matter? Yes. Her voice was stronger now. It matters. I need to know if I'm sitting in a car with a murderer. His laugh was sharp. You've been in cars with a murderer for 3 years. At least I'm the one trying to protect you, not hurt you. The logic was sound. Disturbing. Accurate. Marcus had killed something in her. Maybe not physically, but spiritually. Emotionally. The woman she'd been before him was dead as surely as he was. Alessandro continued. The brakes failed. I had my people check the wreckage. It was legitimate mechanical failure. Bad maintenance. Bad luck. Bad karma maybe. I didn't kill him. But I'm not sorry he's dead. Neither was she. That was the shameful truth. The relief she felt knowing Marcus couldn't hurt her anymore. Couldn't track her down. Couldn't drag her back. Death had freed her when nothing else could. Where are we going? She realized she'd never asked. Never questioned where this stranger was taking her. Alessandro's answer was simple. Somewhere safe. Derek won't leave this alone. He'll blame you for Marcus's death. For the money Marcus stole. For everything. Grief makes people irrational. Derek loved his brother. Doesn't matter that Marcus was a monster. Family loyalty is blind. He was taking her to a safe house. Temporary protection until Derek calmed down or could be convinced to stand down. Lily's phone buzzed in her purse. Text message. She pulled it out. Derek's number. The message was short, direct, threatening. You're dead. You and whoever that man was. You took my brother from me. I'm taking everything from you. Alessandro saw her screen. Took the phone gently. Read the message. His jaw clenched. Expression hardening into something that made her understand why people feared him. Nico. He addressed the driver. Change of plans. Take us to the estate. The driver nodded. Adjusted course without question. What estate? Lily's fear was returning. Building with each mile. Mine. You're staying with me until this is handled. Alessandro said it like it was decided. Like she didn't get a vote. I'm not going to your house. I don't know you. This is insane. Her voice was rising. Panic setting in. 3 years with Marcus had taught her what happened when men made decisions for her. What happened when she lost autonomy. When her choices stopped matching. Alessandro's response was measured. You're right. You don't know me. But you know Derek. You know what Marcus's family is capable of. They're not dangerous. Lily tried to argue. They're just grieving. They're not. Alessandro cut her off. Marcus learned his violence somewhere. His father was worse. Beat his wife until she left. Beat his sons until they learned to be like him. Derek isn't far behind. She went cold. Marcus had never let her meet his family. Had always said they lived far away. Were busy. Wouldn't understand their relationship. Now she understood why. He'd been hiding her from people who might recognize his behavior. Might see themselves in his cruelty. How do you know all this? She needed to understand the scope of his knowledge. Alessandro explained. Marcus worked for a company I have interests in. When he stole from me, I investigated everything. His history, his family, his patterns. Found the police reports you filed and withdrew. Found the emergency room visits. Found witnesses who saw things they didn't report. because Marcus knew how to make people look away. Every word was a knife. Lily had thought her suffering was private, secret, something she could hide and pretend wasn't happening. But this man had seen all of it, had documented it, had known and done nothing for months while he built his case, while he waited for the right moment to strike. You knew and you did nothing. Her voice broke. The betrayal felt fresh, real, different from Marcus's betrayal, but cutting nonetheless. I was going to kill him. Alessandro's honesty was brutal, was planning it, had the timeline set. Then the accident happened. Thought that was justice enough. Thought you were free. Didn't realize Derek would come after you. Didn't realize the family would blame you instead of their golden boy. Should have anticipated that. Should have protected you from the beginning. But I didn't. So I'm protecting you now. Better late than never. Lily wanted to argue. Wanted to scream that late meant 7 months of continued abuse. 7 months of believing she had no options. 7 months of survival that shouldn't have been necessary. But arguing required energy she didn't have. Required hope she'd lost. She slumped back in the seat. Watched the city pass outside, tinted windows. Let Alessandro take her wherever he was taking her, because she had nowhere else to go. No one else to turn to. Marcus had made sure of that. The estate appeared behind tall gates. Security everywhere. Cameras. Guards. Technology that probably cost more than Lily would make in her lifetime. The house itself was massive. More mansion than home. Beautiful in ways that felt alien. Cold. This was where Alessandro lived. Where he ran his empire. Where he made decisions that affected lives she'd never know about. The car stopped at the front entrance. The driver opened her door. Alessandro was already out, offering his hand again. She didn't take it this time. Got out on her own. Followed him inside, because the alternative was standing outside like an idiot. The interior was even more overwhelming. High ceilings, marble floors, art that belonged to museums, staff moving through halls like ghosts. Discreet, professional, pretending not to notice the funeral-dressed woman following their boss. This is temporary. Alessandro led her up a staircase until Derek backs down or is convinced to. They reached a hallway. He opened a door to a suite that was bigger than her entire apartment. You'll be safe here. No one gets past my security. The room was beautiful, terrifying, a gilded cage. And what if I want to leave? She needed to know, needed to understand if she'd traded one prison for another. Then you leave. Alessandro's response was immediate. You're not a prisoner, but you'd be stupid to go back out there with Derek hunting you. He had a point. Leaving meant exposing herself. Meant facing threats she couldn't handle alone. But staying meant owing this man. Meant becoming indebted to someone whose methods and morals were questionable at best. She stood in the doorway, uncertain, trapped between bad options. Story of her life. Why do they call you the saint? The question came out before she could stop it. Alessandro's smile was dark. Because I'm anything but. People fear saints as much as devils. Maybe more. A devil you expect to hurt you. A saint. That betrayal cuts deeper. He left her alone in the suite. Closed the door gently. Lily heard his footsteps fade down the hall. She was alone for the first time in hours. Alone in a stranger's house wearing a thrift store dress that smelled like funeral flowers and lies. She sat on the bed. King-sized. Probably cost thousands. Softer than anything she'd slept on in years. Marcus had controlled their money, had given her allowance, had made sure she never had enough to leave, to save, to build any kind of independence. This bed alone represented wealth she couldn't comprehend. She lay back, stared at the ceiling, tried to process everything. The funeral, Alessandro's appearance, the threats from Derek, the revelation that she'd been watched for months, the complicated truth that the man offering her safety was also dangerous, was also someone who killed people, who ran criminal operations, who existed outside normal law and morality. Her phone rang. She'd forgotten Alessandro had given it back. Derek's number. She didn't answer. Let go to voicemail. Listen to the message after. Derek's voice was cold, controlled, more frightening than his earlier rage. I know you're with him. Alessandro Dante. You think he's protecting you. He's using you. Whatever game he's playing, you're just a pawn. Marcus told me about you. How easy you were to manipulate. how desperate you were for someone to save you. That's what Dante's doing, playing savior. But he's worse than Marcus ever was. At least my brother loved you in his own way. Dante loves no one. Call me back. I'll keep you safe from him. Protect you from making another mistake. The message ended. Lily deleted it, but the words lingered, burrowed into her brain like parasites. Was Alessandro using her? Was this protection or manipulation? She didn't know, couldn't know, didn't have enough experience with healthy relationships to recognize the difference between genuine help and sophisticated control. Evening came. She hadn't moved from the bed, hadn't changed out of the funeral dress, hadn't done anything except stare at the ceiling and replay every moment of the day, trying to find clarity that wouldn't come. A knock on the door. Soft, almost apologetic. She didn't answer. The knock came again. You didn't come down for dinner. Alessandro's voice through the wood. I'm not hungry. Her response was automatic. The door opened anyway. He carried a tray. Food that smelled expensive. That looked like something from a restaurant, not a home kitchen. He sat on a table by the window. You need to eat. I don't need anything from you. Lily's anger was finally surfacing, finally breaking through the numbness. Alessandro didn't react, just gestured to the food. It's there if you want it. Started to leave. Wait. She stopped him. Derek called, left a message, said you're using me, that this is some kind of game. Alessandro turned back. His expression was unreadable. And what do you think? I think. She paused. Try to find words. I think I don't know what's real anymore. Marcus broke something in me. Broke my ability to trust my own judgment. Broke my sense of what's normal and what's not. You're either the best thing that could have happened today or the worst, and I can't tell the difference. The honesty exhausted her. Alessandro sat in a chair across from the bed. Not close. Respecting distance. Derek called you. How do you know that? How did you? Her fear came flooding back. I monitor threats. His number showed up trying to reach you. You're tracking my phone. I'm keeping you alive. There's a difference. He said it like the distinction was obvious. Like surveillance and safety were synonymous. Maybe in his world they were. Tell me the truth. Lily sat up. All of it. Why am I really here? Alessandro was quiet for a long moment. Then, Marcus owed me $2 million. He died before paying. His estate goes to Derek. Derek won't pay. Having you here creates leverage. The words hit like a punch. So this was never about protecting me. It was about money. Her voice was hollow. Betrayed again. By another man. By her own stupid hope that someone might help her without ulterior motive. It started that way. Alessandro admitted. Using you to pressure Derek. But then I saw you at the funeral. Saw how alone you were. How scared. Saw Derek target you immediately. The money still matters. But so do you. Both things can be true. Lily laughed. Bitter sound. You're telling me you're holding me hostage, but you care about me. That's what you're selling. I'm telling you the truth. Something Marcus never did. I want my money. I also want you safe. Those goals happen to align. That doesn't make either one less real. She should throw him out. Should demand to leave. Should call someone. The police. A friend if she had any left. Anyone. But Derek's threat was real. And Alessandro was honest in ways Marcus never had been. Honest about his motives. His methods. His moral ambiguity. That counted for something. Didn't make him good, but made him clear. Predictable in his unpredictability. She picked up a piece of bread from the tray. Ate it without tasting. I'll stay. For now. Until I figure out what else to do. Where else to go. But I'm not your leverage. I'm not your anything. I'm just someone stuck between bad options trying to survive. Again, Alessandro stood. Understood. For what it's worth. Marcus was going to die by my hand. The accident just beat me to it. Would have made it look like an accident, too. Would have made sure you weren't blamed. Would have given you actual freedom. The timing was wrong, but the outcome is the same. He's gone. You're alive. That's what matters. Lily woke to sunlight streaming through windows she didn't recognize in a bed too soft to be real. For 3 seconds, she forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back. The funeral. Alessandro. Derek's threats. The estate with security that could stop an army. She was trapped again. Different cage. Different captor. Same fundamental loss of control. Her phone showed 7 missed calls from Derek. 3 voicemails she didn't listen to. 1 text from Jenna, her best friend who she hadn't spoken to in 2 years because Marcus had systematically destroyed every relationship she had. The text was simple. Saw the news about Marcus. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Lily stared at the message. Didn't know how to answer. Wasn't okay. Needed everything. But asking meant explaining, and explaining meant reliving, and reliving meant breaking down completely. A knock interrupted her spiral. Different from last night. More insistent. She opened the door. A woman stood there. 50s. Kind face. Staff uniform. Mr. Dante asked me to bring you breakfast and show you the house. You're welcome to anything you need. Lily followed her downstairs. The kitchen was massive. Industrial. The kind of space that fed dozens, not just one man. The woman whose name was Maria explained the layout. Where things were kept. How to ask for meals. How to move through the house without disturbing Alessandro's work. Because he worked from home apparently. Ran his empire from an office on the third floor that Maria warned her never to enter uninvited. The rules were clear. Invisible. This was borrowed safety. Temporary shelter. Not a home. Alessandro appeared while she was eating toast she couldn't taste. He looked different in daylight. Less intimidating. More human. He poured coffee like it was normal to share breakfast with the woman he was using as leverage against her dead ex's brother. We need to talk. About Marcus. About why I hated him before he stole from me. Lily set down her toast. Wasn't sure she wanted to hear this. Alessandro sat across from her. Didn't wait for permission. I met Marcus 3 years ago. Business meeting. He was junior partner at a firm I worked with. Charming. Confident. Good at his job. Then I saw him with you. At a company dinner. Saw how he touched you. How you flinched. How you smiled through fear. Recognized it because I grew up watching my father treat my mother the same way. The confession hit Lily sideways. Alessandro had seemed untouchable, above human weakness, but he was talking about his mother, about learned violence, about patterns that repeated across generations. My father was a monster. Beat my mother until I was old enough to stop him. Beat me until I learned to fight back. I swore I'd never be like him. Never raise my hand to someone weaker. Never use power to terrorize. Then I saw Marcus doing exactly that to you, and I want to kill him on sight. But I couldn't. Had no proof. No justification. Just instinct that he was poison. So I waited. Watched. Hoped you'd leave him before I had to intervene. Lily's throat was tight. You watched me suffer because you needed justification. Needed a reason that made sense in your world. Alessandro met her eyes. Yes, that was wrong. I prioritized legal cover over your safety. Won't make that excuse. Won't pretend waiting was noble. It was cowardice dressed as strategy. Why are you telling me this? Lily needed to understand his angle. What game this confession served? Because you asked for truth. Because if you're staying here, you deserve to know who's protecting you. I'm not a good man. I've killed people, hurt people, run operations that destroy lives. But I have lines, rules. Violence against women is one of them. Marcus crossed that line every day he was with you. I should have ended him sooner. Should have ignored the complications. Should have prioritized you. Didn't. Living with that failure now. The honesty was brutal. Uncomfortable. Real in ways Marcus's apologies never had been. Marcus used to say he was sorry. Used to cry. Used to promise he'd change. Then he'd hurt her again. Worse each time. The cycle was predictable. This felt different. Alessandro wasn't apologizing. Was just stating facts. Accepting responsibility without making excuses. Tell me about the escape attempts. He said it gently. I know he tried 3 times. Want to hear it from you. Lily didn't want to relive it. Didn't want to give voice to her failures. But something about Alessandro's directness made her talk anyway. First time was 8 months in. He'd broken 2 of my ribs. I waited until he left for work. Packed a bag. Got to the bus station. He tracked my phone. Found me before the bus left. Dragged me home. Punished me for 3 days. Her voice was flat. Emotionless. The only way to tell it without breaking. Second time was a year later. I'd saved money. Hidden it. Bought a ticket under a fake name. Made it 2 states away. He found me anyway. Had connections. People who owed him favors. Brought me back. That time was worse. She couldn't elaborate. Couldn't describe what worse meant. Alessandro's jaw was clenched, but he didn't interrupt. Let her continue. Third time was 6 months before he died. I'd planned for months. Had a friend who was going to hide me. Had changed my appearance. Cut my hair. Lost weight, so I looked different. Got halfway there before Marcus showed up. He'd been tracking my friend's phone, not mine. Had known about the plan the whole time. Was letting me think I'd escape just to prove I couldn't. The time he didn't hit me. Just locked me in our apartment for 2 weeks. Made me understand that leaving wasn't possible. That I belonged to him. That trying again would be worse than death. She stopped talking. Couldn't continue. The memory of those 2 weeks was still too fresh. Too real. The isolation. The psychological torture. The systematic destruction of hope. Alessandro was quiet for a long moment. Then, I found evidence of all 3 attempts. Bank records, bus tickets, your friend's statement to police that she later retracted. I knew how thoroughly he'd broken you, how impossible leaving seemed. That's why I didn't expect you to survive much longer. Why I accelerated my timeline for dealing with him. The accident happened 2 days before I was going to. 2 days. Lily felt sick. She'd been 2 days away from freedom. From Alessandro ending Marcus. From escape she hadn't known was coming. Would you have told me? After? Would I have known you killed him, or would it have just been another accident? Alessandro's answer was immediate. You'd have known. Would have made sure you knew you were safe. That he couldn't come back. That you could finally breathe. But would have kept my name out of it. Would have let you rebuild without association to me. To my world. To this life. Why didn't you do that anyway? After the accident. Why pull me into your world now? Because Derek made it necessary. Because letting you face his threats alone was wrong. Because leverage or not, I couldn't watch another man hurt you. Even indirectly. Even through threats. Alessandro stood. Paced. His control was cracking slightly. Showing emotion underneath. And because seeing you at that funeral sitting alone, wearing a borrowed dress, crying tears that weren't grief. It broke something in me. Reminded me why I have rules. Why I draw lines. You deserve someone to sit with you. To hold your hand. To make you feel less alone. That's all it was supposed to be. Helping for one moment. Then Derek threatened you, and it became more. Lily understood. He'd acted on impulse. On principle. Now, he was stuck with the consequences. With her. Footsteps in the hallway. Nico appeared. Boss, we have a problem. Derek just posted on social media. He pulled out his phone. Show them both. Derek had written a long post about Marcus's death. About Lily's abandonment. About how she'd moved on within days with a known criminal. About how Alessandro Dante had corrupted her. Turned her against family. Was using her for purposes Derek could only guess at. In. People who didn't know Lily or Marcus or the truth creating narratives from nothing. She felt exposed. Violated. Her private hell made public entertainment. Alessandro took the phone. Read the post. His expression hardened. Nico, make a statement. Official. From me. Explain that Ms. Martinez is under my protection due to credible threats against her life. That Derek Reeves has been harassing her. That any further contact will be considered a hostile act. Will that help or make it worse? Lily's voice was small. Making your involvement public means. She couldn't finish. Meant everyone would know. Meant her association with Alessandro would be permanent. Searchable. Would follow her forever. Alessandro looked at her. It means Derek can't touch you without touching me. Means his threats stop being theoretical and start being dangerous for him. Means you're under the protection of someone who actually has power to back it up. Also means people will assume things. Will create stories. Will judge you. That's the cost. She nodded. Understanding. The cost was her reputation. Her anonymity. Her chance at a normal life after this ended. But the alternative was Derek. Was threats that would escalate. Was possible violence. She chose safety over reputation. Choose Alessandro's protection over her own comfort. The statement went out within the hour. Official press release from Alessandro's organization. Lily Martinez is a guest under my protection. Recent threats against her life have necessitated security measures. Derek Reeves and any associates are warned that harassment will not be tolerated. Any attempts to contact or harm Ms. Martinez will be met with appropriate response. The language was clear, threatening. Left no room for interpretation. Derek backed off immediately. His social media went silent. His call stopped. The public pressure combined with Alessandro's reputation created a barrier Derek wouldn't cross. At least not openly. Lily should have felt relief, felt safer. Instead, she felt owned, claimed, like Alessandro had just announced to the world that she was his. His property, his responsibility, his problem to handle. Days passed. She stayed in the guest suite, ventured out only for meals, avoided Alessandro when possible because proximity felt dangerous. Not physically, emotionally. She was starting to depend on him, starting to look forward to their conversations, starting to feel things that were absolutely inappropriate given the circumstances. He was her protector, not her boyfriend. Her temporary shelter, not her home. Getting attached would be catastrophic. But her body didn't care about logic. Noticed we walked into a room, responded to his voice, wanted his attention in ways that made her feel guilty and confused. This was trauma bonding. Had to be. Her brain associating safety with Alessandro because he'd rescued her. Stockholm Syndrome. Psychological manipulation, even if unintentional. She couldn't trust these feelings, couldn't act on them, had to maintain distance. Alessandro made that impossible, kept finding reasons to talk to her, to check on her, to offer things. A job in one of his legitimate businesses, access to his lawyers to handle Marcus's estate, therapy with someone who specialized in domestic violence survivors, protection that went beyond physical safety into rebuilding life. She accepted the therapy, declined the job, wasn't ready, wasn't sure she'd ever be ready. The therapist was expensive, competent, asked questions Lily didn't want to answer, pushed her to examine patterns, to understand why she'd stayed, why she believed Marcus's promises, why she'd internalized his cruelty as something she deserved. The sessions were brutal, necessary, helped her see that Marcus hadn't just hurt her body, had rewired her brain, had trained her to accept mistreatment as love, had made her believe she was worthless, undeserving, lucky to have anyone at all. Alessandro was undoing that programming, not intentionally, just by being consistent, by keeping promises, by offering help without strings, by respecting her space, by making her feel valued, safe, worthy of protection. It was intoxicating, dangerous. She was falling for her protector, for the man who'd watched her suffer and done nothing until it served his purposes. For someone whose world was violence and crime and morality she didn't understand. This was a mistake, was repeating patterns, was substituting one dangerous man for another. But her heart didn't care. Her heart just knew that Alessandro made her feel alive again, made her believe recovery was possible, made her hope that maybe someday she could be whole. 2 weeks into her stay, Alessandro found her in the library, room full of books she'd been reading to pass time, to escape her thoughts, to avoid confronting feelings that grew stronger daily. He sat down across from her. We need to discuss next steps. You can't stay here forever. Eventually, Derek will make another move or you'll need to resume your life. I've been thinking about options. She set down her book. Listened. I can set you up in an apartment. Security included. Give you space from this house. From me. Where you can stay longer. Until you feel ready. Or, he paused. Seemed uncertain for the first time. Or you could become part of my organization. Officially. Work for me. Be protected permanently. Join the family in a real way. The offer hung between them. Heavy. Complicated. World-changing. Lily didn't know what to say. Didn't know what she wanted. Knew only that leaving meant losing the first safety she'd felt in years. Meant facing the world alone again. Meant rebuilding without support or resources or anyone who cared if she lived or died. But staying meant accepting Alessandro's world. Meant becoming part of something criminal. Something dangerous. Meant crossing lines she'd never imagined crossing. The choice was impossible. Was asking her to decide who she wanted to be. Who she could become. Whether survival meant compromise or principle. She looked at Alessandro. At the man who'd held her hand at a funeral. Who'd protected her from threats. Who'd offered kindness when the world had offered cruelty. I need time. To think. To process. To figure out what I want instead of just reacting to what I'm running from. Alessandro nodded. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Neither are the options. Neither is my protection. That's permanent regardless of what you choose. That night, she couldn't sleep. Kept replaying Alessandro's offer. Kept imagining different futures. One where she stayed. Became part of his world. Learned to navigate danger and darkness. Became someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who didn't run anymore. Another where she left. Found an apartment. Got a normal job. Tried to rebuild a normal life. Became who she was before Marcus. Or discovered who she could be after him. Both futures terrified her. Both required courage she wasn't sure she possessed. Both meant choosing, committing, moving forward instead of just surviving. Her phone buzzed. Text from Alessandro. Can't sleep either. Come to the study if you want to talk. No pressure. Just an offer. She shouldn't go. Should maintain boundaries. Should protect herself from growing attachment. But she was already out of bed. Already walking through dark halls toward light coming from under a door. Already choosing proximity over safety. Already knowing this was a mistake she was going to make anyway. Alessandro's study was dark except for lamplight that made everything look like old photographs. He sat behind a desk covered in papers. Business. Legitimate and otherwise. Looked up when she entered. Didn't seem surprised. Like he'd known she'd come. Like he'd counted on her inability to resist. Couldn't sleep. She stated the obvious. Stood in the doorway, uncertain whether to enter fully or retreat. He gestured to a chair. Neither can I. Been thinking about Marcus. About the accident. About things that don't add up. Lily sat, her curiosity overwhelming her caution. What things? Alessandro pulled out a folder. Police report. Accident reconstruction. Witness statements. I've been reviewing the evidence. The brake failure. It was too clean, too convenient. Brakes don't just fail on cars that new. Marcus drove a 2-year-old Lexus. Those cars are built to last. Built with redundant safety systems. For both brake lines to fail simultaneously. It's nearly impossible. Her stomach dropped. You think someone tampered with it. You think it wasn't an accident. Alessandro's expression was grim. I think Marcus had more enemies than just me. Think someone else wanted him dead. Someone with access to his car. Someone with motive. Derek maybe. Or Marcus's father. Or any number of people he'd screwed over in business. Marcus wasn't just abusive to you. He was reckless. Arrogant. Made enemies everywhere he went. The list of people who wanted him dead is extensive. Lily processed this. Try to understand what it meant. If Marcus was murdered, then someone out there had done what she dreamed about. Had ended him. Had freed her. Should she feel grateful? Guilty? Complicit somehow? I don't know what you want me to say. If someone killed him, I'm not sorry. That makes me a terrible person, but it's true. Alessandro shook his head. Makes you human. Makes you someone who survived hell and didn't pretend the exit was a tragedy. Before they could continue, Nico burst through the door. No knock. No warning. Emergency energy. Boss, we have a situation. Derek's father, Martin Reeves. He's outside the gates. With 6 men. Armed. Demanding your release, Lily. Claiming you're holding her hostage. The words hung like smoke. Lily stood. Felt panic rising. Martin Reeves was worse than Marcus. Alessandro had said so. If Martin was here. If he thought she was being held against her will. This could turn violent. Fast. Alessandro was already moving. Nico, get the security team active. Full perimeter. No one gets in without authorization. He turned to Lily. You stay here. Lock the door. Don't come out until I come back for you. She should listen. Should hide. Should let the men handle this. But hiding was what she'd done for 3 years. Hiding was what Marcus had trained into her. She was done hiding. I'm coming with you. Her voice was steady. Surprising herself. Alessandro started to argue. She cut him off. He's here because of me. Because he thinks you're holding me prisoner. The only way to defuse this is for him to see I'm here by choice. That I'm not being forced. Otherwise, this becomes a standoff. Becomes violent. People die. Maybe you. Maybe me. I won't let that happen. Alessandro studied her face. Saw determination that hadn't been there 2 weeks ago. Saw strength building. Finally nodded. Fine. But you stay behind me. Anything happens, you run. Don't argue. Don't try to help. Just run. Understood. She agreed. Knowing she wouldn't run. Knowing if it came to that, she'd do whatever was necessary. She was tired of being saved, tired of being protected, tired of being the victim everyone had to rescue. They walked to the front gates together, Nico and four security personnel flanking them. Through the windows, Lily could see the vehicles outside. Expensive SUVs, men standing beside them, weapons visible, not concealed, a show of force. Martin Reeves stood at the front. 70s, distinguished. Could have been anyone's grandfather except for the coldness in his eyes. The same coldness Marcus had, the same emptiness. Alessandro opened the intercom. Martin, what can I do for you? His voice was calm, controlled, gave nothing away. Martin's response was immediate. You can release the girl. Lily Martinez. I know you're holding her. Using her to get to Derek. To collect money my son never owed you. Let her go. Let this end peacefully. Alessandro looked at Lily. Questioning. She stepped forward. Spoke into the intercom herself. Mr. Reeves. I'm here by choice. Alessandro isn't holding me hostage. I'm staying here because Derek threatened me. Because your family blamed me for Marcus's death. Because I need protection. Martin's face showed disbelief. That's what he's told you to say. That's what he's trained you to repeat. I know about men like Dante. Know how they manipulate. How they make you think you're choosing when really you're trapped. Come out here. Come talk to me. Let me help you. His voice was fatherly. Concerned. Would have been convincing if she didn't know better. If Alessandro hadn't told her about Martin's history. About what he'd done to his wife. To his sons. This man was Marcus times 10. I'm not coming out there. And you need to leave. This is private property. You're trespassing. Alessandro has done nothing wrong. I'm staying here because I want to. Because it's safe. Because for the first time in years, I can sleep without fear. Your son was abusive. He hurt me, isolated me, controlled me. I'm not mourning him. I'm relieved he's dead. If that makes me a bad person, then fine. But I'm not leaving here. Not for you. Not for Derek. Not for anyone. The words felt powerful, liberating. She'd never spoken this truth out loud. Never admitted to anyone how she really felt about Marcus's death. Martin's expression shifted, from concern to cold, from grandfather to predator. So that's how it is. You're with him now, sleeping with my son's murderer, dishonoring Marcus's memory. The accusation hit like a slap. Lily's voice rose. I'm not sleeping with anyone. And Alessandro didn't kill Marcus. The police said it was an accident. Brake failure. Martin laughed. Harsh. Bitter. You believe that. You really believe Alessandro Dante had nothing to do with my son's death. Marcus owed him money. Threatened to expose his operations. Of course Dante killed him. Made it look like an accident. And now he's got you convinced you're safe. That he's your protector. You're a fool. Just like Marcus said. Too stupid to see when you're being used. The insult was designed to hurt. To make her feel small. To trigger the programming Marcus had installed. That she was worthless. Stupid. Deserving of contempt. But something had changed. Those words didn't land anymore. Didn't penetrate. She'd spent 2 weeks in therapy. 2 weeks being treated with respect. 2 weeks remembering she was human. Say whatever you want about me. I'm done caring what the Reeves family thinks. I survived Marcus. I'll survive you. Now leave before this gets ugly. Martin's face darkened. You think you're tough now. Think Dante's protection makes you untouchable. Let me tell you something about men like him. They're users. Predators. They'll keep you around until you're no longer useful, then dispose of you. Just like he disposed of my son. You want to know the truth about that accident? I had it investigated. Privately. Real investigators. Not police in Dante's pocket. The brake lines were cut. Professionally. Someone who knew what they were doing. Someone with access. Someone with motive. Alessandro's jaw clenched. That's a serious accusation, Martin. One you can't prove. Martin smiled. Can I? I have a mechanic's report. Photos of the cut lines. Evidence that your people were seen near Marcus's car the day before he died. Evidence that puts this murder squarely on you. Lily felt the ground shift. Looked at Alessandro. His expression was controlled, but she saw something flicker. Guilt maybe. Or recognition. Had he lied? Had he killed Marcus after all? Had his story about the accident being genuine been manipulation? Her trust started cracking. You said it was an accident. You said you didn't kill him. Alessandro met her eyes. I didn't. But Martin's right about one thing. The brake lines were cut. I found out a week ago. Been investigating who did it. It wasn't me. Wasn't my people. But someone wanted Marcus dead. Someone skilled enough to make it look like equipment failure. Someone who's still out there. Martin interrupted. Convenient. Blame some fandom killer. She doesn't believe you, Dante. I can see it in her face. She's realizing you're just another Marcus. Another man who lies. Who manipulates. Who controls through fear disguised as protection. Lily's mind was racing. Alessandro had known the brake lines were cut. Had known Marcus was murdered. Had kept that from her. Had let her believe it was an accident while investigating behind her back. That was a lie. By omission, but still a lie. Her trust in him wavered. But Martin was worse. Was Marcus's father. Was the man who'd created the monster who'd tortured her. She had to choose. Had to decide who to believe. Who to trust. Whose world to inhabit. Alessandro or the Reeves family. Her abuser's protector or her current protector. Both dangerous. Both dishonest. Both offering safety that came with costs. She turned to Alessandro. Did you keep the murder investigation from me? Did you lie about knowing? Alessandro's answer was immediate. Yes, I kept it from you. Not to manipulate you. To protect you. If you knew it was murder, you'd be a target. Whoever killed Marcus might want to eliminate witnesses. Might think you know something. I was trying to keep you safe until I found who did it. The explanation made sense. Frustrating sense. Alessandro had lied, but his reasoning was sound. Keeping her ignorant kept her safe. Telling her the truth put her in danger. She understood the logic even if she hated it. Martin saw her hesitation. Exploited it. He's lying to you right now. Can't you see that? He's had 2 weeks to plant these ideas in your head. To make you think he's different from Marcus. But he's not. He's worse. He's got blood on his hands. Dozens of lives. Hundreds maybe. You think he cares about you. You're just another transaction. Another piece in whatever game he's playing. Come with me. Let me take you somewhere actually safe. Away from him. Away from all of this. I'll protect you from Derek. From Alessandro. From everyone. The offer was tempting. Seductive. Escape from both dangers. Fresh start. Clean slate. But Lily remembered Alessandro's confession. About his father. About his mother. About witnessing abuse and swearing never to repeat it. She remembered him holding her hand at the funeral. Remembered him being honest about his motives. About wanting his money, but also wanting her safe. Both things being true. Martin hadn't offered truth. Had offered only accusation and rescue. Had offered to be her savior without acknowledging his own darkness. Without admitting he'd created Marcus. Without taking responsibility for teaching his son that women were property. Alessandro was dangerous but honest. Martin was dangerous and pretending not to be. That made him more frightening. I'm staying. Her voice was clear. Final. Martin's face showed rage barely controlled. Then you're choosing to die. Because whoever killed Marcus will come for you. Will tie up loose ends. And Dante can't protect you. He can barely protect himself. Consider this your warning. The vehicles pulled away. Fast. Aggressive. Leaving threats hanging in the air like smoke. Alessandro turned to Nico. Double security. 24-hour surveillance. Anyone approaches this property, I want to know immediately. Also reach out to our contacts. Find out who killed Marcus. I want names. Timelines. Everything. This ends now. Nico nodded. Disappeared to execute orders. Alessandro and Lily stood alone. The silence between them was heavy. Complicated. She defended him. Chosen him. But trust was damaged. Why didn't you tell me? About the brake lines. About the murder investigation. Her voice held hurt. Betrayal. Alessandro met her eyes. Because telling you made you complicit. Made you a target. If Martin's right, and whoever killed Marcus wants to eliminate witnesses, then knowing the truth puts you in danger. I was protecting you. By lying. By keeping secrets. Just like Marcus did. The comparison was unfair. She knew it even as she said it. But the wound was fresh. Raw. Alessandro flinched. I'm not Marcus. I've never hurt you. Never controlled you. Never made you feel less than human. I kept one secret. One piece of information. To keep you safe. That's not the same as systematic abuse. He was right. The situations weren't equivalent. But her trauma made her sensitive to dishonesty. Made her see patterns where none existed. Made her question everything. I know. I know you're not him. But I need you to be honest with me. About everything. Even when you think the truth will hurt. Even when you think lying is protection. I need to make my own choices. Need to assess my own risks. Need to be treated like an adult capable of handling reality. Alessandro nodded. Understood. For now on, complete honesty. Even when it's hard. Even when it's dangerous. You have my word. They walked back inside. The moment of crisis had passed, but tension remained. Questions remained. Who killed Marcus? Why? Were they still a threat? Was Lily safe here, or was Martin right that danger was coming regardless of Alessandro's protection? She didn't have answers. Had only instinct. Only the feeling that staying with Alessandro was right even when logic suggested otherwise. They reached her suite. She stopped at the door. Thank you. For earlier. For letting me speak. For not forcing me to hide. I needed that. Needed to use my voice. Alessandro's expression softened. You're stronger than you think. Stronger than Marcus made you believe. You're going to be okay. Eventually. Maybe not today. Maybe not next week. But someday. The certainty in his voice made her want to believe him. Made her want to be the person he seemed to see when he looked at her. She did something impulsive. Something she'd been wanting to do for days, but hadn't because boundaries mattered and timing mattered, and she was supposed to be recovering, not replacing one man with another. She kissed him. Quick. Soft. Testing. Alessandro froze. Didn't respond immediately. When he did, it was careful. Gentle. Giving her control. Letting her set the pace. The kiss deepened. Became something more. Want mixed with need, mixed with a desperate desire for connection that didn't hurt. For touch that didn't carry threat. For intimacy that felt safe. His hands were in her hair. Hers clutching his shirt. Bodies pressed together. Heat building. Then Alessandro pulled back. Breathing hard. We shouldn't. You're vulnerable. I'm supposed to be protecting you, not. He couldn't finish. Lily understood what he wasn't saying. That this was wrong. That she was confused. That trauma made people seek comfort in dangerous places. That sleeping with him would complicate everything. But she didn't care about complications. Didn't care about appropriate boundaries or healthy recovery or any of the rules the therapist had outlined. She cared about feeling alive. About wanting someone who wanted her back. About choosing intimacy instead of having it forced. I know what I'm doing. I know this might be a mistake. But it's my mistake to make. My choice. Marcus took my choices. I'm taking them back. Starting now. Starting with this. She kissed him again. Harder. More insistent. Alessandro resisted for maybe 3 seconds. Then surrendered. Let her pull him into the suite. Let her close the door. Let her choose him even though every rational part of both of them knew this was complicated and messy and probably a terrible idea. But survival wasn't rational. Recovery wasn't clean. Sometimes healing looked like falling into bed with your protector. Sometimes it looked like choosing intimacy that scared you. Sometimes it looked like living instead of just surviving. They didn't sleep. Spent the night talking, touching, learning each other in ways that felt dangerous and necessary simultaneously. Alessandro was careful, attentive, checking constantly that she was okay, that she wanted this, that nothing was forced or pressured or reminiscent of Marcus. The care made her cry, made her realize how starved she'd been for gentleness, for someone who prioritized her pleasure, her comfort, her enthusiastic participation. This was what intimacy was supposed to feel like. Mutual, respectful, safe enough to be vulnerable. As dawn broke, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her back. This changes things. She stated the obvious. Makes everything more complicated. Alessandro agreed. Also makes it more real, more honest. I've wanted you since the funeral. Since I saw you sitting alone, crying tears that weren't grief. Wanted to protect you. Possess you maybe. Make you mine in ways I had no right to want. Lily processed that. Alessandro wanted her. Not as leverage. Not as transaction. As a person. As someone he was drawn to. The knowledge was terrifying. Exhilarating. Gave her power she hadn't possessed before. We need rules. Boundaries. This can't interfere with keeping me safe. Can't make you sloppy. Can't compromise security. Alessandro kissed her forehead. Agreed. But we also need to be honest about what this is. You're not just someone I'm protecting anymore. You're someone I care about. Someone I want. That matters. That changes how I operate. Makes me more careful, more invested, more likely to burn down anyone who threatens you. The intensity in his voice made her shiver. This was dangerous. Getting involved with Alessandro meant accepting his world, his methods, his willingness to use violence. But it also meant being seen, being valued, being chosen by someone who didn't need her but wanted her anyway. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't check. Did anyway. Text message. Photo attached. She opened it. Her stomach dropped. The photo showed her and Alessandro kissing at her door last night. Taken from outside, from somewhere on the property. Someone had breached security, had gotten close enough to photograph them, had evidence of their relationship. The text accompanying the photo was simple. You chose wrong. Now you both pay. The message was clear. Whoever killed Marcus was watching, was targeting them, was planning something. The crisis wasn't over. It was just beginning. Lily showed Alessandro the phone, watched his expression shift from soft to hard in seconds. The man she just slept with disappearing. The wolf emerging. He grabbed his own phone. Called Nico. We've been breached. Someone got onto the property. Got close enough to photograph us. Find them. Find how they got in. Find out who hired them. And Nico. He paused. Find them fast. Because if they got close enough to take photos, they could have killed us. This was a message. Next time it won't be. The property went into lockdown. Every entrance sealed. Every camera reviewed. Every staff member questioned. Nico's team worked through dawn, finding nothing. No breach point. No evidence of entry. Whoever had taken that photo was a ghost. Professional. Connected. Dangerous in ways that made Alessandro's security look amateur. Lily sat in the study, watching screens. Watching armed men patrol grounds. Watching her safety become a military operation. This was her life now. Surveillance. Weapons. Constant threat. She should be terrified. She'd want to run. Instead, she felt angry. Felt done being hunted. Done being prey. Whoever killed Marcus thought she was weak. Thought targeting her would break Alessandro. They were wrong. She was done breaking. Alessandro ended a call. Turned to her with an expression she couldn't read. I found something. About Marcus's death. About who wanted him dead. Lily stood. Needing to know. Needing the truth finally. It wasn't Derek. Wasn't Martin. Was someone unexpected. Someone with access. Someone Marcus trusted. He pulled up a file on his computer. Security footage from Marcus's office building. The day before he died. Showed Marcus's assistant. A woman Lily had met once. Quiet. Efficient. Forgettable. The footage showed her entering the parking garage. Approaching Marcus's car. Working on something under the hood. 20 minutes. Then leaving. Alessandro had cross-referenced her. Real name was Sarah Chun. Former mechanic. Expert in automotive systems. And Marcus's ex-girlfriend from college. The one he'd abused before Lily. The one who'd filed a restraining order he'd violated repeatedly. The one who disappeared from public records 5 years ago. She came back. Lily understood immediately. Came back to kill him. To stop him from hurting anyone else. Alessandro nodded. Got hired as his assistant 6 months ago under a fake name. Waited. Planned. Cut the brake lines professionally. Made it look like equipment failure. Then disappeared again after the accident. My people have been tracking her. Found her yesterday. She's in the city. Been watching you. Been watching us. Took that photo last night. Lily's mind was racing. Sarah had killed Marcus. Had freed her. Had done what she'd been too weak to do. Should she feel grateful? Should she be afraid? Should she turn Sarah in or thank her? The morality was complicated. Messy. Alessandro continued. She left a message. Wants to meet. Says she's not a threat to you. Says she's been protecting you. Making sure you stay safe in the Reeves family. The photo was a warning. About Martin. About Derek. About someone else targeting you. Who else? Lily's fear was returning. Who else wants me dead? Alessandro's expression darkened. Marcus had a business partner. James Sullivan. They were embezzling together. From my operations. From others. Sullivan thinks you know about it. Thinks Marcus told you details before he died. Plans to eliminate you before you can talk. Sarah's been tracking him. Been trying to warn us. The photo was her way of getting my attention. Of forcing this conversation. Lily absorbed this. Marcus had been stealing from multiple people, had put her in danger she didn't even know existed. And Sarah, Marcus's other victim, had been protecting her, had killed Marcus to save them both. The complexity was overwhelming. I want to meet her, want to hear her story, want to understand why she's helping me. Alessandro started to argue. Lily cut him off. No, this is happening. You said complete honesty, complete autonomy. I'm choosing this. Set it up. The meeting happened in a neutral location. Coffee shop. Public. Safe. Sarah arrived exactly on time. She looked different from Lily's memory. Harder. Older. Carried herself like someone who'd survived war. She sat across from them. Ordered nothing. Got straight to business. Marcus destroyed my life. Abused me for 2 years. When I finally got away, he stalked me. Ruined my career. Made sure I couldn't work in my field. Forced me to disappear. Change my name. Start over. I spent 3 years rebuilding. Then I heard about you. Heard he'd found another victim. Was doing to you what he'd done to me. Couldn't let that continue. Couldn't let him keep hurting people. Her voice was flat. Emotionless. Trauma turned to cold purpose. So you killed him. Lily stated it plainly. Sarah met her eyes. Yes. Planned it for months. Got close. Waited for the right moment. Cut the brake lines. Watched him die. Felt nothing but relief. Lily understood that feeling. That absence of guilt. That cold satisfaction in an abuser's death. Did you mean to frame Alessandro? Make it look like he did it. Sarah shook her head. Knew Alessandro was investigating Marcus. Knew he wanted Marcus dead too. Figured the timing would be confusing. Would create doubt. Would make everyone suspect him while I disappeared. Didn't count on you. Didn't realize you'd go to the funeral. Didn't expect Alessandro to protect you. Been watching since then. Making sure you're safe. Making sure the Reeves family doesn't hurt you the way Marcus did. Lily felt something shift. This woman, this stranger, had been protecting her for weeks. Had killed for her. Had risked everything to stop Marcus. Why? Why do all this for someone you don't know? Sarah's expression softened slightly. Because I know what you survived. Because I couldn't save myself in time, but maybe I could save you. Because some monsters need to die, and someone has to pull the trigger. Alessandro interrupted. Sullivan, you said he's targeting Lily. What's your intel? Sarah pulled out a folder. Detailed surveillance. Sullivan's planning to move tonight. Hired someone. Professional. Same person who breached your security and took that photo. Actually, that was me. I breached your security. Took the photo. Sent the message. Needed to get your attention. Needed you to take the threat seriously. Sullivan's man is coming tomorrow night. During your charity gala. When the property is full of guests and security is spread thin. Plans to take Lily quietly. Make it look like she left voluntarily. Kill her off-site. Blame on the Reeves family or you. Create chaos. Alessandro's jaw clenched. How do you know this? Sarah's smile was cold. Because Sullivan hired me first. Thought a woman would be less suspicious. I took the job. Took his money. Now I'm telling you his plan. Consider it a gift. Payment for protecting Lily when I couldn't be there constantly. The gala was tomorrow. 24 hours to prepare. To set a trap. To end this permanently. Alessandro was already planning. Already making calls. Already mobilizing his organization. But Lily had a different idea. Let him come. Let Sullivan's man try. But I'm the bait. I draw him out. Make him show himself. Then we take him. Take Sullivan. End all of this at once. Alessandro started to refuse. Lily's voice was steel. I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you what's happening. I'm done being protected. Done being the victim everyone saves. I'm ending this my way. Sarah nodded approvingly. She's right. Best way to catch a predator is with prey that fights back. I'll help. I'll be nearby. Armed. Ready. Between the three of us, we can handle one hired killer. Alessandro looked between them. Two women shaped by Marcus's cruelty. Two survivors turned hunters. Finally nodded. Fine. But we do this smart. Controlled. No unnecessary risks. We end Sullivan. End his man. End every threat permanently. The gala arrived. The property filled with guests. Politicians. Business leaders. People who knew Alessandro's reputation and came anyway. Pretending his money was clean. Pretending association didn't implicate them. Lily wore a dress Alessandro had bought her. Red, expensive, made her feel powerful, beautiful. Nothing like the woman who'd sat alone at a funeral 3 weeks ago. She moved through the crowd, smiled, made conversation, played the role of Alessandro's girlfriend, his partner, his equal, waited for the moment, for Sullivan's man to make his move. She felt Sarah somewhere in the shadows, felt Alessandro's security everywhere, felt protected but also exposed. Bait required visibility, required vulnerability, required faith that backup would arrive in time. Midnight approached. Guests started leaving, the crowd thinning. A man approached her. 40s, nondescript, could have been anyone. He introduced himself as a business associate of Alessandro's, asked if she'd step outside for a private conversation. Something about a donation, something that required discretion. She agreed, followed him toward the garden. Alessandro and Sarah tracking her movements on cameras. The man led her away from the lights, away from security, toward the property's edge. Started to turn, started to grab her. Lily moved first. Training Alessandro had insisted on. Self-defense classes with his best instructor. 2 weeks of learning to fight, to disable, to survive. She struck his throat, dropped him. Sarah appeared from the shadows, gun drawn, zip-tied the man's hands. They'd done it, caught the killer. Now for Sullivan. Alessandro's people moved fast. The hired killer talked within an hour, gave up Sullivan's location, his plans, his evidence of embezzlement, everything needed to destroy him. They found Sullivan at his house, packing, preparing to run. Alessandro's arrival stopped that. The confrontation was short, brutal. Sullivan tried to negotiate, tried to offer money, tried to threaten exposure of Alessandro's operations. Nothing worked. Alessandro's response was simple. You targeted someone under my protection, hired someone to kill her. That requires consequences. Sullivan's death was quick, professional, made it look like suicide. Pressure from embezzlement charges, guilt, depression. The story would hold. The investigation would close. The threat would end. Lily watched from the car, watched Alessandro emerge, watched him become the man his reputation promised. The wolf, the killer, the monster who protected his own with absolute ruthless efficiency. She should be horrified, should be disgusted. Instead, she felt safe, felt avenged, felt like justice had finally arrived. Sarah disappeared after Sullivan. Left a note. You're safe now. All threats eliminated. Live well. Don't waste the freedom Marcus's death bought you. The message was clear. Sarah had done what needed doing. Now she was gone. Back into shadows. Back into anonymity. Lily would never see her again. Would never be able to thank her properly. Would carry the debt forever. The knowledge that another woman had killed for her, had protected her, had given her a future Marcus would have stolen. The weight of that gift was enormous. Complicated. Couldn't be repaid, only honored. Only lived up to. Only transformed into something meaningful. Days passed. Life normalized. The estate felt less like a prison, more like home. Alessandro's organization accepted her, treated her as family, as someone who belonged. She started working for him. Legitimate businesses, consulting, management, using intelligence Marcus had tried to suppress, using strength she'd forgotten she possessed, building a life that was hers, that she chose, that no one controlled but her. Alessandro proposed 3 months after the gala. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet conversation in the study where they'd first admitted wanting each other. I want you to stay, not as a guest, not as someone under protection, as my partner, my wife, my equal, if you'll have me, knowing what I am, what I do, what being with me means. Lily didn't hesitate. Yes, knowing exactly what she was accepting, what future she was choosing, what compromises she was making. They married quietly, no big ceremony, just Nico as witness, just vows that mattered, just promises they'd both keep. For better or worse took on new meaning when worse included violence and crime and moral complexity. But better meant safety, meant partnership, meant being seen as human, being valued as equal, being loved without condition or control or the threat of violence disguised as affection. That was worth the complications, worth the moral ambiguity, worth choosing a dangerous man who'd proven himself safe in the ways that mattered. They visited Marcus's grave 6 months after the wedding. Both of them, together, stood looking at a headstone that marked the end of one life and the beginning of another. Lily felt nothing. No grief, no guilt, no connection to the man buried there. Just relief that he was gone, that his chapter had closed, that she'd survived him. Alessandro took her hand. Same gesture he'd made at the funeral. Same offer of connection. But this time, it wasn't a stranger offering comfort. It was her husband offering partnership, offering strength, offering the promise that she'd never sit alone again, never face threats without backup, never be unprotected or undervalued or made to feel less than human. They walked away from the grave together, left Marcus behind permanently, moved toward a future that was complicated and messy and built on foundations most people would question. But it was theirs, built by choice, built by survival, built by two people who'd met at the worst moment and decided to build something better. The funeral had been an ending. Their meeting had been a beginning. Everything since had been transformation. Victim to survivor, stranger to lover, alone to together. The journey wasn't clean, wasn't simple, wasn't the kind of story people told at weddings. But it was real. It was theirs. It was enough. Lily Martinez sat alone at a funeral wearing a borrowed dress and carrying grief that wasn't really grief. Alessandro Dante offered his hand to a stranger and changed both their lives forever. Sometimes protection looks like violence. Sometimes love looks like danger. Sometimes the right person appears at exactly the wrong moment and becomes exactly what you need. Marcus's death freed her. Alessandro's protection saved her. Her own strength rebuilt her. The combination created something new. Someone new. A woman who understood that survival sometimes meant accepting help from dangerous places. That healing sometimes meant choosing complicated over simple. That moving forward meant holding the hand offered even when you didn't know where it would lead. She'd sat alone once. She'd never sit alone again. Would you have accepted help from a stranger at a funeral? Would you have trusted someone dangerous to keep you safe? Drop story is going to absolutely blow your mind. Share this with someone who believes in second chances and complicated love. More stories of survival, protection,